Hello everybody, this is David Soper here at the Wooden Vine in Uptown Charlotte, North Carolina at 231 North Tryon Street. I'm the sommelier and owner here. We're here today to talk about corked wine, or trichloroanisole in wine, also abbreviated as TCA. And this is a mold, actually, that loves to grow in cork and has been a subject of controversy in the industry lately on different kinds of closures that we should use in wine. Of course, the most popular of all time has been cork, and so I'm going to teach you a little bit about how to recognize cork taint and about how to go about approaching it as a fault in wine. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open up the wine, and you should do this with any fault. Of course, there are a lot of different faults that can exist in wine. This is probably the most common fault in wine. About 6 to 7% of all wine, and it just depends on what expert you're talking to, 6 to 7% of all wine has some form of TCA or cork in it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look at the cork. I was a little premature here. You're going to want to look at the cork, make sure that there isn't any residue on top, any visible mold, which can sometimes happen underneath the foil. It's not always an indicator of it being corked, but it certainly can lead up to the wine being corked. And so you're going to want to go ahead and open it. And then you're going to want to look at the top of the bottle here. You're going to see if there's any mold that is formed where the cork might have existed inside the wine underneath the cork there. And if there's not, then you're probably good to go there. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to examine the cork. Now, I just happened to open up one that has a synthetic cork, but one thing that you would notice on a real cork is, of course, the smell. The smell is going to be the first indicator that the wine is going to be corked. And the cork is actually going, of course it's going to smell like cork, but in this case it's going to smell more like a wet dog or like a or wet cardboard of some sort. And so that's your first indicator there. And so you'll see people smelling the cork like that sometimes. Some people say that it's useless to smell the cork, but I think that it's actually a good indicator of a wine being corked. Is the first thing is that the cork is going to smell like wet cardboard. Next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and pour yourself a little taste. And this you definitely should do in your own home, and certainly any server should do in your restaurant that you might be opening up a bottle or a wine bar. And the next thing you're going to want to do is smell the wine. And it's going to probably smell just like the cork if it is corked. And so the wine itself is going to smell like wet cardboard or a wet dog or a moldy basement. It's going to smell like mold. And so that is for wine that is heavily corked. Now there are wines out there that could just be slightly corked, have just a small amount of parts per million of TCA in it, and those can be less detectable. And so as opposed to it smelling like a wet dog or wet cardboard, you may notice that the wine is not as fruit forward or as approachable as it might otherwise be. And so that too can be an indicator of it being corked. Now it doesn't always mean that it's corked. Wine needs to breathe as soon as it's open. So it could just be that it needs a little bit of time in the glass or a little bit of time in the decanter, and it could improve from there. But if it continues to smell like that, and it will if it's corked, then you're going to want to send it back. And so what you're going to want to do is call over your waiter or your sommelier if you're in a restaurant or a wine bar and just say, hey, I believe that this wine is corked. They are familiar with how this process works. They're familiar with, they open up wine all the time that's going to be corked, and so they're going to then probably want to test it themselves. And you should certainly allow them to do this just to verify and confirm that it's maybe just need a little more time to open, or perhaps maybe there is a quality in that wine that they're familiar with that that could have kind of a barnyard kind of a characteristic or a wet dog kind of a characteristic, and that's what that wine is known for. But that should blow off as the wine opens up. And so they'll happily take it back for you and open up a new bottle for you. And so I hope that was educational enough about corked wine, and I hope to see you all again soon.